नमस्कार सभी को वेलकमिंग एवरीवन in my new video that relates to the class 11th economics. So the topic is solution to the basic economic problems in different economies. So from the very beginning, if I would start here, like economy, what is an economy? In a simple language, economy is a system of livelihood where basic economic agents, or you can say the important economic activities like production, consumption, distribution, right? These exchange, production, consumption, distribution, exchange, these are the four important economic activities, right, are taken place. So they are mixed or merged in such a way, these activities are coordinated in such a way that they form a setup. Now that setup is the economy. So usually we have got three types of economies: capitalist, mixed and socialist economies. So the problem is of scarcity of resources, economic problem. When we speak about what is an economic problem, so why economic problem arises, this is a very important question when it comes to economics. So you see, economics is basically depends on the human psychology, how we refer to any commodity, what are the perceptions as a human we have for any commodity. This is the science of human psychology. Okay, so it is said, or it is a very natural phenomena, that our desires, the human beings' desires, are unlimited, whereas to fulfill those desires, the resources we have are limited. So this is exactly the major reason behind economic problem. So every economy all across the world faces the same problem. Their resources are limited, but the wants, the desires of the population in that country is unlimited. So it becomes a very prominent job for the government or the higher authority of any country to decide where should we focus, where should we allocate our limited resources, so that maximum utility or maximum satisfaction can be achieved. Because in economics, the ultimate conclusion or ultimate result, output you may say, or ultimate aim or ambition is to maximize the utility or maximize the satisfaction. So this is the just general overview of this topic. So now by now we know that we have got three economies: capitalist, mixed and socialist. And the problem which we are taking up in these problem arises because of a scarcity of resources. Scarcity means not inadequate or inadequate. Scarcity, that means the resources are not in abundant, they are in abundant. Inabundant means they are less in numbers, less than the desired numbers. That is a scarcity. So the central problems we have basically what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So capitalist, when it comes to capitalist, now in short, if I say the capitalist economy is such economy whose objective is to earn a profit. Their major idea is to make profit. They are the profit minded people. So for the capitalist, how do they deal with this economic problem solutions? Now be focused that when it comes to central problems, we have got only three types of problems: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Okay, so the solutions will apply only to these three problems. So when it comes to capitalisms, they derived a method called price mechanism. Now what is this price mechanism? So usually if I talk in a simple, so this method has been breakdown into two major things, that is price and market. So price mechanisms actually is an mechanism, or it is an act where the major economic agents like producer, consumer, and suppliers, resource suppliers, are dealt with. They are keep in such a line, they are linked up in such a way that their desires and their motives are fulfilled. That is the basic objective of price mechanism. Who are those three economic agents? Producer, consumer, and resource supplier. Now what is this price? So price is something which we pay for using any commodity, right? If you purchase a commodity, for you pay against something to get that commodity. That something is the price. So usually how this price is determined. So this price is basically leads to the equilibrium price. Equilibrium means that something should be in balance. It should be equal. Now who the two important factors in economy, that is demand and supply, they should be equal, they should be equivalent, they should be in balance. So demand is created by the consumer and supply is made by the producer. So equilibrium price is a price where both consumer and producers are in equilibrium. That means they agreed on that particular price. So that point where demand and supply is equal, or where demand curve and supply curve are intersecting, that point is known as equilibrium price. Now when it comes to market, so market is a place where buyers and sellers are meeting. It is a set of system where buyers and sellers are meet, they can meet. Now this market as per the economics are divided into two types: goods market and factor markets. So goods market, again goods, we have goods and services. Goods, something which is tangible in nature, that means which can be seen or touched, and services which is intangible in nature, which cannot be seen or touched but must be felt. Then there is a factor. Now if you know the factors of production, how many factors of production we have? So economics says we have got four types of production, factors of productions: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So this factor prices is nothing but the rewards are being paid against using these factors of productions. For example, rent is being paid for using land, wages is being paid for using labor, interest is being paid for investing capital, and in profit is being paid to the entrepreneur. So let's see how the problems decided. Now the first thing you see is what and how much to produce. So in a capitalist economy, as I already said, they are profit minded people. So here the consumer is the sovereign. Here consumer is termed as king. That means, in a very simple language, if there is a higher demand of any commodity, the price will definitely go high. If the prices go high, then it's a profit, that gives a higher profit to the producer, right? So who is creating the demand? Consumer is creating the demand. Because of that higher demand, the prices shoots up. Now because of the high prices, it becomes profitable for the producer to produce those goods, because that the producer understood that if I produce such higher demand product, I may get higher profit. Now if there is a change in demand, the change in demand again leads to change in amount of goods produced, right? Say for if earlier whatever the commodity was in demand, if there comes any change in the particular commodity, then that it will definitely affect the change in amount of goods produced. If earlier the commodity X has been produced in 100 units, and say for all of a sudden the commodity X demand goes down, or it's not up to that much level, then the amount of good produced, it was earlier 100, now it may come down to 70. So if there is a change in demand, it will certainly leads to change in amount of goods produced. Then increase in demand will leads to again rise in prices. Remember here important thing is with the constant cost of production, that means there is no change in cost of production. If there is an increase in demand, definitely it will leads to rise in price. With the constant cost of productions, profit will be higher. Now the vice and versa. Now vice and versa says just the opposite. If there is a lower demand, price will fall, right? And if there is low price, then it is a lower profit for the producer. Now if producer understood that if any particular commodity is giving less profit, the production will definitely be reduced. So this is how what and how much to produce is decided. So everything depends on the consumer's taste and preferences. Then second is how to produce. The ultimate job or ultimate aim of a producer is to earn higher profit, and which can only be achieved with the minimum cost of production. So this is the fundamental rules. If there is a minimum cost of production, that will lead to higher profits. Now here minimum cost of productions means input prices. Input prices, again here the price mechanism work will come. Now price mechanism, that means competitive forces of demand and supply. Input prices means the factors of production which you are using in the production of goods, right? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, right? These are the factors of production. So these are the input prices. So price mechanism, how the price mechanism helping? Price mechanism is helping by fixing the price with the forces of demand and supply. So where the demand and supply meets up, that particular price is the determined input prices. Now on the basis of factor prices, which which may give me less cost of production. Like if I say labor intensive techniques are cheaper than capital intensive, then as a producer I will choose the labor intensive techniques. And if I found that labor intensive is little dearer than capital intensive, then as a producer I will choose the capital intensive. The objective is to minimize the cost of production. So this is how the how to produce is solved. First is input price. Here input price that leads to price mechanism. Price mechanism means competitive forces of demand and supply. Remember, price is always set where demand and supply are equal. And if on the basis of factor prices, which intensive technique is cheaper for me? Is it labor or capital? Then the third is for whom to produce. In capitalist economy, you see distribution of total output of goods and services depends upon the distribution of income. That means if you are paying wages to a labor, it depends upon how much the work or capacity that labor is putting into the work, right? The capacity of work, the efficiency of work will decide the price of that labor. Of course, the competitive market given the competitive prices in the market. So usually it is said in the capitalist economy there is an unequal distribution of income. Rich remains the rich and poor stays the poor. That means for whom to produce is basically decides whosoever contribution is higher in the production of goods, in the production of output, will get the higher share in national product, and whosoever has lower contribution in the production of goods will get the smaller share. Then price mechanisms on an evaluation. Is it price mechanism good? So on based on certain points, like price mechanism solve the economic problems. In socialist economy, usually we have a central planning authority to decide, but in capitalist economy we do not have any such authority. So here economic problems are being solved with the market force. Now when I say market force, I'm talking about demand and demand and supply. That means your consumer and buyers are by themselves deciding and determining the prices. Then it is an organizing forces. As I said, here organizing forces leads to that here demand and supply are keep adjusting by itself in order to reach the equilibrium point. Promote social welfare. The reason promote social welfare, here individual interest is backed with the community interest. I mean, here in an example, if I say all person is looking to their individual interest, producer is looking towards its individual interest. Wherever the producer seems the cost is less, that producer is free to choose that, right? And where the consumer sees the reasonable prices of the desired product, the consumer is free to choose that product. Preservation of individual freedom. The same point can be repeated here, that consumer and producers are free to choose the goods for consumption and production purposes respectively. That means producer may go for either for labor or capital, whichever is least cost, which is giving the less cost in production. And for the consumer, the consumer is free to choose the goods that maximizes his or her satisfaction.